What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. It is episode 9. We have the NACL playoffs just concluding their first week of play, and the qualifiers also still well underway. We're about to start eliminating some teams entering this weekend, and somebody alongside me who's going to be doing some of the coverage of those games is a special guest today. AlkBattery, who's been covering the NACLQs alongside me, will be kicking off coverage this weekend on Rally Cry/Challengers League, is here. Hawk is on vacation, so we got somebody in to replace him. AlkBattery, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just hope I can fill the shoes because I know Hawk is a mighty personality on this show. So I wanna make sure that I could do right by holding down the spot for him.
Hawk has some takes that are very hot at times. So
The
I know
takes
that,
of all time.
the takes of all time. So I'm sure that you will come in with the heat as well, because I know that we've both been following a lot of the NACL as well as the NACLQ. And there's a lot of things that keep moving around, some upsets that happen on both ends as we're getting ready to both, crown a winner in the NACL and also get into that promotion relegation tournament in about a month or so. But reminder to everybody that you can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and we live stream all of the episodes on Twitch. We're releasing on a Thursday today just because Super Week kind of griefed us all in terms of scheduling, but that's all right. And also, we'll be streaming the NACLQs, I believe, either on this channel or AlkBattery, your channel as well, and Summers at Smack's Hide, as well as the official games that are going to be streamed on twitch.tv/Challengers League. So make sure to keep your eyes on that, as well as the NACL playoffs. But speaking of, we got to get into our headlines portion for today. Alk, let's head over to question number 1 and the NACL playoffs. There were a bunch of games that happened. I believe it was, 16 best of 3s over 4 days? Out of all of those,
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those you caught, but which one was one that you specifically were really interested in?
So I have two because I'm gonna we're gonna make sure to cover everybody. If you're a big fan
Yeah.
of the provisional teams, you have to must watch TV is Wildcard versus TL. This series was insane. I had come into it just thinking we had already see this team play a tiebreaker at the end of the regular season, and so I was thinking, okay, this should be a pretty favorite match for a wild card. I thought that the end of season play that we saw from these guys was really, really strong, and I think we got an amazing match between both them and TL. TL, who are now obviously they're knocked down in the lower bracket thanks to Cloud9. I think that they played some really good League of Legends, and I just think that we got to see more of what I thought was super exciting about Wildcard as we got into the back half of the split, which was how damn good Lens is.
Yeah.
This guy is actually insane. The foresight to be I'm playing AD carry and all I have to do is kill Jinx. Even if that means I have to walk into their front line, I need to kill their AD carry. And not a lot of other people would have that kind of ability to see that win condition in the middle of a game. So I really want to give props over to those guys. And sucks that they're in the lower bracket now, but that series is insane. The fact that it goes to 3 and just that third game alone, it's 3 games of Moose Hater Garen. That's all you need to know.
The most interesting thing about that, in my opinion, was the fact that TL and Wildcard played 3 games the week before and then faced off again in a best of 3 in the playoffs. And Wildcard took 2 out of 3 in the regular season, but TL took 2 out of 3 in the main season, in the playoffs actually, where it really mattered. But yeah, Lens played amazing. I know, at the start of the season, a lot of the hype was on Moose Hater and Keel, but this guy has really turned up throughout this entire season, has been one of the best bot lanes, I think, in the entire league. And I'm really excited to see because the lower bracket runs are going to be pretty interesting. We'll get to Wildcard a little bit more as we head later into the show, but a series that I was really interested in was actually AoE versus Evil Genius's Challengers. I think that one, if we're still talking about these provisional teams, was one that I really wasn't super certain about. I know in the bracket that I did end up doing last week with Hawk, I did have AoE taking that series 2-1, and I was correct on that one. I wasn't correct on some of the other predictions that I did end up having, but AoE, the way that they have adjusted their style from the start of the season to now is actually really, really interesting to take a look at. When you originally were watching AoE, it was all Winnie just perma-ganking on Vi, and just attempting to make as many plays as possible, whether they are good or bad. But you saw them be a little bit more reserved this time around versus EG. They had these 3K gold leads with only 2 kills at the 15-minute mark in basically all 3 of the games, and they were actually able to snowball that into wins I guess 2 out of those 3 times, and that's something that I'm really excited to see. I think this AoE team is scaling up, and even if they don't make it into the top two in terms of provisional teams, I think they're gonna have a really easy ride through the relegation tournament and then into the summer split.
I think it's really funny actually that EG, Mazel was talking about it on the broadcast during the cast, but it was EG, the first team to get knocked out at Proving Grounds last year in summer, and here again knocked out. Also, they went up against two provisional teams in both Fear and AOE. I think the Fear one was a good temperature check for how this team was going to do because Ryoma had just come off of playing like a pretty okay weekend at LCS. You know, he only played a game, but I think everybody was really impressed with his Azir performance. And then going up against Fear, everybody was like, okay, Fear was good in regular season, but like, we don't know, haha. And now Fear are in the upper bracket, like going up against Cloud9. You have AoE that you were just talking about for that matchup. I think we got to see a lot of cool things, and I think specifically Game 3 was really emblematic of like an AoE win where you have Gamsu on kind of like this really cool niche counter pick that not a lot of people are going to be playing.
Oh, that Mordekaiser angle was so
yes,
OP.
It looked awesome, and to kind of see them get more of the same, I kind of feel bad for EG because they look like they were still ramping up, especially with Ryoma coming in. They look like a much better team, but it sucks. It kind of feels like, you know, all the pieces they got gapped by visas, and that happens, right?
We were waiting for King for the entire season, unfortunately for EG, and it just never came to be. You know, mobility was all right in the time that he did actually.
He got better. He got much better during that time, so I'm happy for him.
Even towards the playoffs, like it was very clear that this team was missing a piece, and I think hopefully in the summer split, which I think is what this team was looking at going forward, like that's going to be an angle for EG to maybe look at to try and improve. Because, you know, for an organization that is that highly touted, going 0-2 in both playoffs, 2 splits in a row is not where they want to be.
Yeah, it would. It kind of sucks, especially for some of the players. Like a lot of this roster is just new, so they don't have some of that baggage of like, oh yeah, we lost last summer. This is a pretty fresh team, so I think they should be able to bounce back. It sucks. I'm sure that the org owners are kind of looking at it like, guys, why are we losing? We have all these cool players. I will say, before we move on from the subject, if you want to look at like fixed teams, if you're not really, for some reason, you're not interested in the provisional teams, Dignitas Challengers versus FlyQuest Challengers.
Oh yeah, that was
Jesus Christ! This another 3-game series. So we're just picking all the ones that went to 3.
Yeah.
FlyQuest could have won every single one of these games. They only won one of them, but game 2 was winnable. They threw. Game 3 was super winnable, and then Aurelion Sol 800 sacks at 35 minutes happened. We have a subject on that later, but like this was an insanely good match, especially because FlyQuest have only been ramping up in the back half of the split. No longer the Wi-Fi wizard. He has an Ethernet cable now for Masu. He's there with the boys. And Dignitas, while they did finish second, they ended the back half of the split with a lot of 1-1s. Yeah. So people were, you know, the stonks were rising and lowering for both of these teams, and it mixed up at this point to have an insanely good match. So those are our 3 series. I think that if you're only able to watch, those are the ones you need to get into.
Yeah, at least watch those, and that'll hopefully get you prepared into this next weekend. But speaking of this next weekend, we did unfortunately say goodbye to 4 teams who will not be competing this weekend, and that was Evil Geniuses, and then also the 3 LCS affiliated provisional teams, both CLG Face, FlyFam, and Team Liquid First. As we move on to our next topic here, AlkBattery, I have to ask you, of course, we've been covering both the qualifiers and NACL, but, you know, are we going to be saying goodbye to any of these provisional teams heading into the summer split?
You know, surprisingly enough, I think only 1 at most will be gone.
Yeah.
We still have to kind of see the results of this upcoming week as to who our last provisional team will be. But right now, my 2 kind of front runners are going to be CLG Faith, and that's the like most likely one. But also, I think they have been showing a little bit better gameplay, and I have some reasons for that later. And I'm still kind of down on Team Liquid First. I know I'm supposed to take the Hawk. I'm supposed to take the Hawk, you know, slot here and be like, Team Liquid First will win the series. But
that was mega by him.
There are still some glaring things that I want to see them fix before we get to promotion relegation. I don't think they're going to, but we'll wait until we get more into the nitty gritty there.
Yeah, CLG Faith did win a game, which was huge.
Yes, double the wins.
NXI popped off on Kindred, but I'm not 100% sure how much of that was CLG Faith and how much of that was Wildcard or just like the compositions kind of interacting with each other. We can
Hmm.
get to that in a little bit, but overall, I think that CLG Faith, of course, just have looked very weak throughout the season. I don't know if there is like a certain like win con that you can really rely on, even if you are playing against teams that are supposedly weaker than teams that are already in the NACL. But other than that, I'm not 100% sure if it you can really chalk any of these other teams, whether it be FlyFam or Team Liquid First up, as teams that are going to be in danger of losing their spot. Because despite their, pretty subpar records and some flaws that we see in these teams, I'm gonna be honest, AlkBattery, these provisional these qualifier teams, they're not looking super great. I don't know about your thoughts about
Yeah.
things, but overall, like from what I see, the level of play is definitely down from last year. That of course has to do with the fact that a lot of players did get moved up to the NACL, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not seeing a runaway team as being like they're gonna dominate throughout the promotion or the relegation tournament. I think if anything, it's just gonna be CLG Faith kind of underperforming compared to the rest of the provisional teams.
Yeah, the other provisional teams I think still have a pretty strong identity. They all know exactly what they want to do, and I think they have a pretty okay success rate on getting that to happen compared to I think the rest of the field. But CLG Faith, I will say, talking with some of the staff, I know it is like it always feels bad as like a viewer to hear these things because you're like, well, when are they going to show on stage? But obviously in scrims, this team is doing well. They've been practicing against at least some of the top qualifier teams, and I'm hearing good things about their performance there. Uh, I think the one thing that I will say for CLG Faith is they need to kind of correctly use this break period. Whether that is like, hey, everybody take a few days, or get right back into it. I think that'll be really important to see how they'll perform, and everybody needs to be hot because when we've seen CLG Faith win, it is like one person just like carries the team and like performs like a madman. Whether it be Bajani's win up against FlyFam like weeks ago, or NXI like copping wins versus uh Wildcard. It is we need everybody to be hot. I don't think we've seen a series where Town is playing particularly amazing. That Aaron and Sketch are really kind of off to the races. When this team can kind of find that groove, I think is when we'll see the best version of CLG Faith. And hopefully now they aren't just playing back to back to back to back
Yeah.
weeks. They have time. They can watch the rest of the bracket. They can do whatever they need to. They can take downtime where they're not having to play a stage game and get constantly like, for a better lack of a better term, railed on stage and in front of like a bunch of people who are
Yeah.
watching, because it sucks to lose a lot of public confidence. You can use this time to hyperbolic time chamber it up.
In terms of the other teams, I think that FlyFam, they really like playing the early game. I think that they will be able to run over some of the early games better against weaker competition. And then,
Yeah.
even though for Team Liquid First, like the bot lane is a huge concern, LGX and Rovex do not look like an NACL level bot lane and have
Nope.
not throughout the time that they have been together. That top side is just so good. I mean, Surdy and Citywitty, I feel like are just going to be able to kind of carry the team throughout against some of the even against some of the qualifier teams. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, it depends on what level of bot laners we're getting. Obviously, we still have a couple of teams that we're waiting to qualify for the promotion relegation. We're not quite done yet. But yeah, the level of bot lane, and I think just the level in general for qualifier teams hasn't been as high. And I was kind of looking at it. I was like trying to see like maybe because the first Proving Grounds event, the academy teams played 9 games throughout the regular season, and that was it. And then like amateur was playing like upwards of like 80 to 100.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
this season, so far, we're kind of neck and neck, especially for teams that have already dropped out of the tournament. You're missing out on quite a few games, and specifically Maryville, our number one team, at least by points right now for the qualifiers. They're around like 20 games right now. They're gonna play at least another 2 this weekend, and we're expecting them to make it further into the bracket. So they're gonna reach a kind of similar number. Whereas like for most of these teams, they've played somewhere around 30 games, which is not bad. They've gotten games, so I think this should be a we'll talk about it later. It's lower on the bracket there for the questions, but
Yeah.
like, yeah.
That's actually a really interesting conversation because I guess it does seem pretty even at this point, especially for the teams that have performed a little bit worse. But a champion that has been performing pretty good as we move on to our next question is Aurelion Sol. We were talking about that FlyQuest versus Dignitas Challenger Series. I think a large reason for Dignitas coming back and winning those last two games after FlyQuest took the first was Insanity's play on this Aurelion Sol pick. But it doesn't seem like everybody's kind of picking up on it. It was popular last week in LCS for sure, but this
Mhm.
week not as much play, and I feel like overall it's been pretty solid when it has been picked up. Alk, what are your thoughts about this champion? I guess as like the color caster who has maybe a more nuanced view of the game.
So we have 5 teams that are playing Aurelion Sol right now. It is TLC, EG, 100, FlyQuest Fam, and Dignitas. Dignitas is obviously the most recent one, but Aurelion Sol kind of feels like a band-aid to me. Like
Hmm.
I have it in my notes as he is just a slower, as in like he takes a lot longer to be an impact in the game, a longer range Oriana, where you are buying space for your team, you are creating area of denial by just like you cannot walk into this space with his E and his ultimate. And I know, I think it was either Captain Flowers or Rafa who tweeted out like, oh, I think it was Deserux who tweeted like, "Hey, I made a call about the Skies Ascend or Falling Star for
I think it was
Aurelion.
Deserex, yeah.
I thought it did a lot more damage than it does. That ultimate, unless it's like mega late in the game, does not actually do a ton. The big
Yeah.
point of it is that it is a huge AoE spell that you are not allowed to walk into, and I think a lot of people I saw, particularly in Twitch chat during the Dignitas FlyQuest game, they were like, "Oh, this game is decided by the balance team and not by like particular play." But FlyQuest were having a really big trouble, specifically I think in the mid lane. Their solo laners were not playing. Spyrax and Philip were not having the best time up against Dignitas, and I do think that this champion is not real. This champion is so fake. I actually like the one thing I will say is this champion is so BS because you can't actually get on top of him unless you're playing a champion with a mobility spell. Because
Hmm.
you try to go in on him, and usually the way that you do that is like you pull the minions away and you force them to walk up. But what he does is he drops E, and then the minions just like
Yeah, then
execute,
you know,
execute,
yeah.
execute. And so how do you get pushed in that lane? You have to be like that much more ahead or have a champion that like deletes minions on spawn. And that just doesn't exist right now. And I think the only real answer is we've seen like a Cho'Gath mid because he just becomes so tanky. But later in the game, you get Stardust, which expands the E, and he has Rylai's usually. So you're actually just never walking out of that. It's so
Yeah.
difficult to get out of.
It's a really interesting champion. I'm gonna second Deserex's point about the Aurelion Sol ultimate just like baiting me because it's happened multiple times. Just looks so cool and then it just kind of doesn't do anything. I'm taking a look at some stats here from Oracle's Elixir. Of course, Insanity was the only person who locked in the ASOL this week
Mhm.
during playoffs. But throughout the regular season, it was picked 7 times in the NACL. 2-5 is the record on the champion. So I think potentially against like teams that are able to punish early, like that's obviously a big thing a big problem here for a team that wants to pick up the champion because you're going to try to scale really hard if you are picking it up.
I mean, you're just saying like I don't believe you're going to win the early game easy enough,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to win. I'm just going to make sure that I win. I mean, this game currently in competitive is 50% win rate, and if I just look at specifically top regions, it is 4 and 6. It is 40% win rate.
Wow.
Most of like, uh, I know Bulldog in Korea is playing it. Harry has been kind of taking some looks. Palafox is obviously the biggest front runner for kind of playing this champion, but no one's played more than a couple games, more than 3 games of this champ, and it is just not looking good. You're giving up so much early game prio for this champion, and it just sucks. I think there's a reason why no one in China is playing this. There's a reason why very few teams are playing this in Korea. Early dragons are super important, and if at 20, 25 minutes your champion is not real, then you're what are you doing? The game's over. You've
Yeah.
lost soul. You've probably lost the ability to do Rift Herald unless you have like a top laner that's going to push your lane really fast. So why, like, I think this champion is super disrespectful. You're basically like saying, I don't think you're going to be able to beat me in 30 minutes,
Yeah,
and
and
that's okay.
and even if we go back to like that FlyQuest series, I mean, it although Insanity was like the big story at the end of those games, you know, FlyQuest had to kind of throw in order to get to that point,
Yeah.
and it wasn't Insanity that was causing, that was like punishing those mistakes. It was people like Diamond who had like these crazy thresh hooks, and it was Spawn on the Aphelios in Game 3 specifically who just burst out so much damage and just bought enough time for Insanity to actually come online. So it's a really interesting discussion. I wonder if we will continue to see ASOL
Hmm.
picked or not throughout the regular season, but or throughout the rest of the playoffs. But I think it's a good time to move on to the next topic here, which is another discussion about a provisional team that we have here in the NACL, and that is going to be Wildcard and also AOE in this certain also set of conversations, because
Yeah.
Wildcard looked a little bit shaky despite having, of course, that really hot start to the season. They dropped a game to CLG Faith, and they also lost that series to Team Liquid Challengers as well. And so they're facing off against TSM. AOE is the other provisional team kind of in the conversation of maybe making it over Wildcard, but they are up against Golden Guardians, who's probably going to be a bit of a more, sorry, not Golden Guardians. They're up against FlyQuest, which is going to be a bit
Hmm.
more of a difficult matchup. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think there's any situation where Wildcard actually does have to get sent to this relegation tournament?
I mean, so for anybody who's maybe unsure as to what happens here, if both of these teams were to lose their series and drop out at the same time, it does go to regular season play, and Wildcard performed, I think, just a lot better than AOE in the regular season, so
Yeah.
they will not be they will not be going to the promotion relegation tournament. It requires for Wildcard to lose and for AOE to win, which I think for Wildcard side is maybe not as big of an upset as FlyQuest challengers dropping out of the tournament immediately.
Yeah.
Uh, and they obviously these are all going to be happening on the same day, so these are really cool things that to kind of take a look at. But I wanted to look at TSM just because Wildcard need to win against TSM, and now we've seen two versions of them that look kind of wildly different in my opinion,
Yeah.
where TSM up against CLG, Neo and Draku have like an amazing series where they're playing only Zyra Rakan, and something that 100 Thieves then kind of pounce on and say like, huh, that's weird, you're only really winning on these champions. All right, let's take that away from you.
Yeah.
Um, and during the 100 Thieves series, like Josh said on the broadcast, and I really agree with him, they were kind of just not doing anything,
Hmm.
and I put it as running with their shoelaces tied together. Like they just like okay guys, I'm ready to go, and then they just like fall flat and they just do nothing, and they try to do early game plays with a composition that doesn't have many tools very early on, and their execution wasn't up to snuff. This is definitely time for a wild card to pounce and continue going through that lower bracket.
That's actually interesting. I would not be surprised if TSM actually does take this series against Wildcard.
Mhm.
I feel like Wildcard kind of have been maybe exploited a little bit, just in terms of, people are starting to ban away picks from Moose Hater unless you're Team Liquid and just, want to Giga Chad play through them. And also just, I think the situation of like Wildcard love to play around Drakes, stack them up, and then force fights that like on their own terms. We saw CLG Faith actually punish that in game number 1. They had the Kindred who was able to press that R button and just basically deny the early like wombo combo engage that Wildcard want to
Yeah.
go for. That actually I think is a really interesting like exploitation of the way that Wildcard want to play the game. And when you look back to the regular season and try to find a team that did do that in the past, it was actually TSM who did 2-0 Wildcard back in, I believe, week 2 or 3. So
Yeah,
that
it
I
was week
think,
2. Yeah.
yeah. So that I think could be a place. I remember watching that game and being like, oh wow, Wildcard, they're doing all these things that seem very illegal, and TSM actually made them illegal and punishing them in certain
Yeah.
instances. So even though I
You
don't think
can
that AOE is gonna win out against FlyQuest, I
Yeah.
do worry for Wildcard a little bit here.
I think Wildcard could potentially get find a little bit of trouble here. Looking back at week 2, actually, I did want to say that like Wildcard, their schedule was TSM and Team Liquid first, and they went 1-1 versus Team
Yeah.
Liquid first starting that week, and they 0-2'd versus TSM. Whereas TSM they went 2-2. They played up against Wildcard, and then they had to play against 100 Thieves, and so they 0-2'd and then 2-0'd. I was like, oh, maybe there's just like a strength of schedule thing. No, they had
Yeah.
pretty even, and obviously week 2, I think Wildcard were still kind of ramping up. They had a pretty good week 1. things happen, schedule changes. I just kind of, as like a final note for these guys, TSM are notoriously not very good at getting early dragons. My diagnosis for this team is if you don't have an early plan versus them, you just lose. They're not very proactive in the early game. They have very, very, very set plays as to how they want to play the game, and that is why we tend to see them get exploited a lot in who they're playing against. So it kind of feels like a mismatch because we've been talking about Wildcard as the team where if you get to late game, you just lose to these guys. Like, they are really good at macro. Their Baron setups are amazing. They play for dragons incredibly well. And you have a massive side lane threat in Moose Hater, who I think in the Team Liquid series, while he did get exploited in the end, his flanks and his ability to constantly find side pressure, I think specifically in game 1 and 2, was one of the reasons why Wildcard were kept into that series for so long.
That is fair. You know, if the late game does come, probably Wildcard, if they can get the objective setups that they want. I mean, I think they're favored against almost any team in the NACL. The problem is
Yeah.
they haven't been able to get there enough in these last couple of weeks, and so that's going to be the thing that I'm keeping my eye on as we head into those series this weekend. But heading into our last topic, as we're going to transition over to the NACLQ, obviously at this point the points are going to be very important in terms of determining which teams actually make it into the promotion relegation tournament. But as right now the leaders are Maryville, TikTok Tony Top, Team Fish Taco, and Supernova. But out of the other teams that maybe we're not super like certain on in terms of qualifying in, obviously the situation will be harder as they'll have to severely overperform against some of these other teams. But is there a sleeper contender you think can sneak in there out of the ones that we're watching right now?
I mean, the one that I have specifically just for qualifiers is just like rock bottom.
Yeah.
They're not locked out, but they need like the miracle run, which
Yeah.
is not out of possibility
It's
for
the
them.
one line on the foldy sheet. Just one out
Yeah.
of like the 5,000 that are available where
Yes.
they make it in.
Yeah. So they currently have a best of 3 that they'll be playing this weekend up against Native. They did take the win versus Native in the Swiss during Swiss qualifier 2, but this team not only needs that to happen, they need Supernova to drop, they need Team Ambition to drop, they need Zenigma as well, because right now our top 3 in terms of points is looking like Maryville, TikTok Tony Top, and TFT, which means there's one slot left. Maryville and TFT are in the same group, so you're going to be expecting them to move on from there. You have Supernova and Team Ambition in the same group, which means that they could also knock each other out potentially, but that requires like I mean, one of those teams is going to get through. They're really hoping for Team Ambition to be the one to get through because
Yeah.
Supernova have more of the points. I think that rock bottom, while it isn't very likely that they make it in, I do want people to be kind of keeping an eye on them and making sure that they're like, can this team actually go further than maybe the committee and maybe public sentiment kind of puts them at?
Yeah, they seem like a very well balanced team, kind of top to bottom. Like everyone has been doing their part in terms of getting them wins. Pi, of course, in the top lane, actually looking very solid in a return back to competitive. Rock Boom and Rocks down in the bot lane have been really good. Rocks actually looking very solid since he's come back from TSM
You
Challengers.
got to be careful when you
Um,
say rocks, man, because there's
there's a
two
lot of
rocks players on their team.
Oh, me and Axeman were having a lot of fun making puns throughout the series
Nice.
that we were covering, which was good. I actually want to highlight music on this team as well because the early game like champions that he's been able to pilot have actually looked really impressive. I think he had like a Lee Sin game in one of the games against Winthrop and really just piloted it really well and just like helped facilitate rock bottom kind of throughout. And this was a piece that we didn't know a lot about in comparison to some of the other teams. And so yeah, it's a tough road for rock bottom, but I could definitely see them like making a run to top 4 if the situation kind of allows it to.
Yeah, they would be in a pretty tough group afterwards if they do make it out. Even if they are the first seed, they'd have to play on the side of the bracket where, yeah, their first round matchup isn't particularly very fun because they're probably playing against Maryville or TFT.
Ooh, is that one?
Yeah, but it does make their semifinals run a little bit easier because uh, as much as I love those guys, they would be playing up against TikTok Tony Top in the semifinals, depending on like if there's. This is obviously not expecting a massive upset, so That would be pretty fun. I do want to say, kind of hitting on some of our bigger teams. Uh, Maryville look like probably the front runners, if not the first or second seed coming into promotion relegation from the qualifiers. We need to see them actually perform.
Yeah.
Yes, they've been dominating all the qualifiers, but historically they've not actually made it very far in proving
It's
grounds.
kind of the story every time where they do really good at the beginning and then kind of are faltering a little bit as we get towards like the big tournament, whether that's Proving Grounds or the promotion relegation event. And yeah, Maryville, they went 3-2 in the Swiss. Of course, they had like an easier game against St. Clair, but I mean they're playing up against Supernova, I believe, next week. So or sorry, no, who is it? I don't wait. I'm getting this wrong. No,
They,
Maryville
yeah, yeah.
playing they. I'm messing this up right now.
I
Maryville
believe in
played
you. You got
against
this.
Lit and looked pretty good.
Yes.
They're going to be playing up against Team Fish Taco this next week, and I think
Yes.
that's going to be a
Correct.
tough matchup for them if they don't, get it together.
I am not. I've not been super impressed with TFT, especially their matchup against Conviction. They had that should have been 2-0 from Conviction. Conviction chucked it, not only in game two but also in game three. So TFT also kind of on the downturn a little bit. We'll see how, if
Yeah,
they can kind of bounce back. The reason why I've been a big fan of Rock Boom is I just think top lane is so weak right now in qualifiers, and if we're going to be putting PCL, if he's playing at the level that we had him at when he was on Barrage and he was playing on all these different teams in competitive, then I think top lane should be leveled up because there is a stark difference once you get out of like top three, top four in terms of
yeah,
top laners that are going to be able to hold their salt and kind of actually
nice.
do well.
I think overall it is interesting to see some of the top teams maybe take a step back in a way when you're thinking about Maryville and TFT. And I think it also goes to show kind of how, some of the teams towards the bottom are looking okay as well. I mean, like, of course, Zenigma and Conviction are the two teams that I was looking at that had no expectations entering this year, but actually, have taken games off of top teams. Native dropped a game to Zenigma as well, so that is something that I wanted to look at as well. The another
Mm-hmm.
team that I don't think people have been talking about at all is actually CCG, who made a couple of roster changes after rebranding from Horizon. They have Quacker in the top lane and Yama down in the support with DMK in the jungle. Quacker actually just kind of looks like his old self back in 2021, which is a really cool thing to see. I think this team actually could make some waves, especially considering like the strength of their group is not as high as some of the other teams that are here.
Yeah, they actually just have the Mickey Mouse group.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Group D is not the like it's Team Mirage Alliance, Miracle, and Team Plink. I actually really like Mirage Alliance, so this means that the upper round GSL bracket that's happening is actually really interesting. I think
Yeah.
CCG, while they did perform all right, they did drop out really early in the tournament for qualifier one.
Hmm.
So I want to see what this team looks like now, kind of revitalized, new roster, and DMK actually in the jungle because
Yep.
we talked about it before. This guy in support, I'm glad you got on the roster. Just get back into jungle, brother.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
He's looked better in jungle, and now they have like a real
Mhm.
support player, which is good as well.
Yeah.
Overall, just like more healthy of a team there. But that's going to be it for our headlines portion. AlkBattery, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be looking forward to watching you this weekend for some of the NACLQ coverage, either on your channel or on twitch.tv/Challengers League. But we're actually going to head over to a part two, which I filmed a couple of days ago with the bot lane of TikTok Tony Top, Levitate and Snow. I am here with some very, very special guests, all the way from TikTok Tony Top, as they are now called. We can call them TikTok Tony Bot. Is that like a name that you
Oh,
guys go
that's
off of?
pretty hype. Never heard that before, but that's a banger for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Levitate and Snow, the bot lane for Tony, as they are now called. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Just 2-0'd St. Clair, so that's pretty hype. But yeah, how you feeling, Joseph?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I just watched my goat Evan Orel run
Yep.
the bot lane of St. Clair, so that was fun to watch last week. But
So,
I'm excited to be back and play against Supernova this coming Saturday.
so we gotta ask. Obviously, you weren't at the game, Levitate. You want to explain to the viewers some of the reason why you weren't there?
Yeah, so basically, TLDR, I'm not working hard enough, but I planned a vacation like long ago,
Right.
and I thought there would be a break between OQ1 and OQ2. It's my first OQ, or I guess PG was previously, so I thought I'd have some time in between, but yeah, it was too late to refund when I found out that I needed to play in OQ2, so I asked my goat Evan Earl to take my spot for a week. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what was it like? What was it like, Snow, playing with Evan? He's been around for a while.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, obviously swapping because I have a lot of practice with Joseph at this point. Swapping was a new experience, but I enjoyed it. I think he's pretty good, so it was a good experience. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm excited to play with Joseph again, but wasn't too difficult, and
Yeah.
we got the win, so that's what matters,
Yeah.
So is what it is.
Going 5-0 is actually a big buff there because that means that
Yeah,
you had to play against the weakest team,
Yeah.
supposedly, for the first round while Levitate was on vacation. But the reason I want to talk to you guys was one of them at least was because I feel like out of the teams that are like at the top of the table in terms of the NACLQ teams, like you guys are probably two of the more unknown players, or at least people that maybe some fans that have been watching for a while haven't gotten to know too well just yet. I mean, even when you take a look at the rest of your team, a lot of players with a lot of experience in the past. So I guess we could open up by just if you want to tell us a little bit about like how you guys got started playing League and just like getting into competitive as a whole. Levitate, you wanna go first?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing League, I think back around season 4. I was very young at the time, and I just played because my older brother played, and I kind of followed everything that he did. Um, I hit Challenger when I was 15, but I didn't really think anything about League just because of how I was raised, I guess. Like my parents, Asian parents just wanted me to, do school and go to a good college, whatever. So, yeah, I didn't really get a taste of competitive League until I played my first year of collegiate at USC. And that kind of drove me to want to like pursue League more in a way. And surprisingly, like my parents were okay with me trying to pursue League, even though I thought they would just shut me down. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into League as a whole.
Right, and I mean, how about you, Snow? How did you get up to when was like the first time you hit Challenger and like that?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing League because I went to, well, I'm 19, right? So I've been playing this game for a while. Um, but in, I guess, elementary school, probably, I went over to my friend's house for a sleepover, and his older
Elementary
brother was
school.
playing League. Yeah, I've been
Wow.
playing for, yeah.
What was that like season 2, season 3?
Well, I was in like the latter half of elementary school. So yeah, I was probably 3 or 4 or something like that. Yeah, I
Wow.
don't know exactly, but yeah, something like that. But anyway, I just went home, downloaded the game, and it was kind of fun. So I've been playing for a while. Started in bronze. For the boys. I
For
mean,
the
it is,
boys.
yeah. Everyone's got to go through it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I've been playing for a while. I hit Challenger for the first time last year. Um, and yeah, I started playing competitive just because I kind of just wanted to play with my friends. And being able to compete with people I know more regular was just really fun for me. And then I've slowly gotten better and better, and I'm here now. So
Heck yeah. Now
yeah.
you're killing it at the NACLQ level, so it's
Oh,
pretty
thank
fun.
you. So kind.
I mean, you guys are both pretty new. I think Snow, you played a little bit with like Wildcard last year or something here and
Yeah, I
there.
was on their dev team in UPL. Yeah.
But I mean, this is the first time that either of you have been at this level. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, just like from an outside perspective, what the off season was like for both of you. Because I saw you guys both playing in different tryouts, things like Native, who's had theirs publicly streamed, as well as I'm sure some other ones as well. But what's it like as like a new player trying to get onto one of these teams, whether it's NACL or the qualifiers, in terms of trying to, make your name known, and maybe if you want to tie that into how you guys ended up coming together as a bot lane and joining this Tony Top team.
Uh,
Yeah.
s-
Go ahead. Sorry.
so basically, yeah, this is like my first amateur experience ever, and I kind of obviously like what any player would do. I think I just tried to join the best team that I could. And me and Snow have actually been trying to play on the same team together since I guess, before the first OQ started, but was unsuccessful. We kind of met through like an in-house server that we were both invited to, and then um, we wanted to play together, and we kind of had our shots. We were both in the Supernova and Native tryouts. Unfortunately, did not make it into either one. So we were kind of set on
Happens.
going separate ways. Snow was going to Fear sub for Fear, sorry, and I was actually supposed to play on Mirage of last OQ and now called
Oh,
Miracle.
wow.
And then last second, I decided to join the TikTok Tony Top team. How that happened was I was like pretty set, as I said, for Mirage of last OQ, and we were scrimming Maryville a couple times, like almost every week.
Hmm.
And then uh, that was when I think Wallflower found out that he did not make the main roster of Maryville, so they let him, play on another OQ team. And I think Scary Jerry and Zyko suggested me to like play for them, and yeah, I mean it was an opportunity that I think I had to take, given like I mean I already knew that it was supposed to be Sudsy and Tony Top at the time, so just given like their history and like how good they are at this game, and like they've played in Academy and LCS before, I thought it was like a opportunity that I had to take. And then uh Ki Tong was actually supposed to play for
Oh,
this team as well. And then he last minute he got I think the sub spot for Fly Challengers. So that's when Wallflower asked me if I had any support in mind, and I said Snow. And like, yeah, it was kind of like a miracle, kind of how everything came together because
it was meant
I'm
to
pretty
be.
sure
Yeah.
yeah, the team came together like literally a couple days before the submission for OQ2 or OQ1, sorry, was due, and we like literally didn't scrim at all. Like we were just like, I was just like, okay, I'm in. And so yeah, that's basically how my off season went.
Does that explain the 3-2 incident in the first OQ where you guys struggled a little bit at the start?
I mean, partially. I also think we just sent at those games, to be honest. But
Hmm.
yeah, those ones were,
Happens.
yeah, that's a happens moment for sure.
So yeah, I mean that's actually really interesting because I heard rumors that this team was like really fresh and just kind of a bunch of like friends that ended up joining together. But hearing the process of that behind the scenes is actually really cool, and I guess things worked out for everyone because Ketong had a pretty good run with Fly. Snow is now here. You guys are killing it as well. Yeah, just awesome. Now I know that you guys are both, of course, fighting to get into the NACL here, but both of you also had experience with a different part of the NA League scene that maybe I want to talk about a little bit with CLOL. Levitate, you were at USC for a bit. I don't know if you're still there now or still playing with their team or not, but Snow, you're currently part of Toronto as well. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay.
For
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
oh,
I'm currently taking a year off, so I'm not playing with the team this year. But yeah, I was playing there last year.
right. What do you guys think about some of the differences between collegiate and this level here, especially now that like with NACL, like there's less like amateur players, I guess, in this scene. Like, do you have any like anything to compare it to or like back and forth? And I know Snow, you're doing both at the same time right now. Is that must be like a bit of a time commitment?
Yeah. For me, our conference at least is not that tough. So for me, like I'm playing CeeLo just because I really like the players on the team. I'm just friends with them. So I'm just kind of doing it to hang with the boys. The level of competition is definitely lower than amateur. So yeah, I think generally the advantage of CeeLo is you have sort of more of that camaraderie, right? You can meet people in real life. Sort of just play with your friends, sort of thing. So yeah, that's why I play CeeLo, and that's been fun. And in terms of balancing between amateur and CeeLo, it's well for me at least it's not that hard. Our CeeLo schedule is not very packed, so yeah, it's not that difficult for me to balance the timeline. But CeeLo is a lot of fun though for sure. Just being able to play on a team with friends, right? That's why I started amateur, and that's what I enjoy about it. Yeah.
Levitate,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, for me, I mean, I didn't really play collegiate for that long. I mean, we played one season, and I think the main difference that I feel is that, like Snow said, I think the level in amateur is higher, and I think that's mostly because like when you play in these tournaments, for example, OQ versus CLOL, the tournament ramps up a lot faster. So, for example, like the Swiss, you kind of play if you're a higher seeded team, you play the worst seeded team, and then quickly like in the next 2 weeks you're like playing versus the best team in the tournament. Whereas CLOL, like you most conferences for the like generally they're pretty weak. Like there's a lot of random schools in there, so you kind of get to build like a lot of, I guess, like teamwork and synergy with your team. Whereas I think in amateur, you kind of have to like pick up the pace a lot. And I think that's the biggest difference for me. Yeah.
Cool. I know that's always like a conversation that is frequent on social media, to say the least. I feel like there's always back and forth about the differences between collegiate and amateur and what really is the path to pro and things like that. But now you guys are both here, and of course had some growing pains at the beginning. Actually, Snow, you played against your collegiate team first round of the last OQ. Is that right?
Yep,
What
that's
what,
right.
what was that? You want to describe that experience? Was there like some all chat banter?
Oh man. So okay, so before the game, like I'm in the Discord, right?
Yeah.
So I typed in the Discord, yo guys, if we lose, I'm retiring, right? So those were the stakes for the match, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just going in, right? Because we were 3 seed and they were 30 something seed.
Yeah.
Not
30.
sure what, maybe 20, 30, 20, sure, 30. So that was my claim. Then I was locked out of Discord, obviously, because they were scanning whatever. So it was pretty funny. And then after the game, I mean, honestly, we're all just kind of memeing. It was a really funny experience because after all, they were like, "Oh fuck, guys, we could have made Nick retire. Fuck, we were so close." Yeah, but
If they retire,
lot
if
of
you were,
fun.
if they make you retire, then they can't have you on their team though. So isn't that
Yeah, I
a bit of a
mean,
problem?
well, okay. What I said was I'd retire amateur, sorry, and then I just
Oh,
played.
okay.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah,
Damn. Okay. So a lot of banter back and forth.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. What do you guys feel like is like the one thing that sets you apart from some other bot lanes in amateur? Obviously, like you guys are both new players, but is there like an identity that you have been trying to work on over this split that kind of defines your play style and the way that you work with the rest of the team?
I think in amateur in general, it's hard to find bot lanes that really are able to communicate to each other and get just on the same page. So I'm not really sure I'd say we have like a distinct style, but I think the fact that me and Joseph are able to communicate pretty well and we're able to get on the same page most of the time is something that kind of sets us apart because that is pretty rare at this level. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think we have like a specific play style that
Yeah.
suits us or like that stands out from other amateur bot lanes. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is that we're not really afraid to criticize each other. And like, if one of us messes up, we're not scared that the other is too sensitive to receive, like constructive criticism. And I think we help each other improve at a fast rate because of how open we are to each other and like how willing we are to accept criticism from each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Speaking of, I know that you guys are very vocal with each other, both like in terms of self-improvement, also like in some of the Discord chats that we were having, just trying to set this episode up, but also in game, things get pretty interesting with the two of you. So what we're going to do, we're going to react to some clips that Snow and Levitate, you guys have both posted on Twitter of the comms of your team. Some of them a little bit unhinged, I have to say. And so what we're going to do, we're going to watch them, and then you guys got to give me the context, some extra information behind some of that. Okay, so this first clip,
Okay, sounds good.
this first clip will come from the second OQ. This was one of the last things that Snow you posted on Twitter. And yeah, let's take a look.
Probably. I'm running.
We're winning on our side really hard.
So. Up with yes. 20 seconds.
I'm out.
Oh my god, huge.
Look at
We can fight, we can mega flank.
I'm looking over there. That's pretty old. Cute over there.
Nice, guys.
Big. I'm pushing bot.
Shit up.
That's a nice play, Snow. I mean, you said to yourself, "Oh, that's huge." Like, how often do you stroke your own ego during the games?
Like all the time, like every scrim, like every chance he gets.
What is that? Okay, listen, okay. Okay, that was a pretty hype play, okay?
Well, no, it was great. I was
I mean,
watching
listen,
that live.
I mean, listen, guys, it is what it is, okay? Sometimes you gotta, positive reinforcement is OP, okay? It is what it is.
That's all you have to say for yourself.
I mean,
Do you have
I
the
mean-
biggest? Do you have the biggest ego on the team? That's the next question.
no way.
Levitate. What are your thoughts? Is it true?
I was kind of memeing, to be honest, but honestly, I
Yeah.
don't think like
You can
any
meme.
of us
You
really
can call-
have
you-
that big of an ego.
That's
We're kind
the
of tame,
cowardly
yeah.
answer, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Let's watch this next clip here. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Okay.
Fine, they can't engage on us.
Sure. Uh-oh.
Oh, you got you can explain this one, man. All you.
Come to you.
Okay. Wukong's still. You see Wukong? They're flashing on us mid.
Let's help him.
We're okay. We win. Wukong no W. No flash. We win. Just go forward. Yeah, nice. We can break mid and hit. Maybe we can end actually.
I'm tugging on this guy's pubes right now.
Tug on his pubes. Okay, just hit. Target.
What? Okay.
Okay.
First of all, who first initially,
Sudsy.
made that comm? Was that Sudsy?
So okay, but I gotta give some context. Okay, so we were in VOD after scrims, right? And our coach, we're talking about a Herald sequence, and basically the conclusion was like, we just have to just do nothing, right? So the way my coach described that was just jerk them off, right?
Oh
just,
my God.
Just jerk them off and do nothing,
Okay.
right? So that's
Yeah.
fine. And then my mid said was like, hold on, that's like a good thing, right? We want to be pulling their pubes, okay?
There's
'Cause that's
no
a
way.
That's a bad thing. That's how the conversation went, I promise you. So then, in game, because this happened like the week of scrims before this match, so I'm like, fuck it, guys. Pull his pubes, just fucking, like, go in. I mean, yeah, that's it. That's...
Nice
that's-
Zeri play there, Levitate. Do you have any thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, our team has kind of like certain phrases that belong to each player. For example, that first clip, like the mega flank, it's just become like a team meme because every time Tony's on flank, he just screams mega flank, and it's like it's the funniest thing ever. So we kind of just all say mega flank now, and yeah, like Sudsy, I was kind of caught off guard when he said, pull on his pubes. So yeah, that's kind of his. I guess that's his trademark.
That's his signature saying.
Yep,
that-
exactly.
So
Wow.
so when you ask him, okay, what is something that you want to be known by? It's that
Yep.
phrase.
I don't know if Sudsy wants to be known for that, but
Hey, it's on Twitter.
I know
which
him
means
for his good plays and that specific phrase. Yeah.
it's
Yep.
on Twitter, so it's officially his thing now. Okay, we're gonna pull up two more clips. This one is from Levitate. Let's take a look.
Aurelius
I'm
top still.
Look at me.
Okay.
Flashing?
I broke.
Let's good. Just play together.
I broke.
Zach, kill Zach.
Zach. Just stay together. Race. We win. Oh my god, Soda is so fucking OP!
Oh my god.
I didn't realize your voice got that high. So
Wow.
the
that is
register
remarkable.
is really there.
Yeah, bro. I got the vocal range. I mean, I might have career changed to being an opera singer sooner or later. At this point, that is lit. I mean, listen, man. Watch the clip back. And
Yeah.
tell me Soda is not OP. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
Sona was very OP that game. I remember. Levitate, was this Sona though, or was this I mean, some good outplays there as well.
I mean, honestly, I think all of us played the fight decently well. I think Tony smurfed this fight,
Tony's the goat for this
and
one.
then I kind of played okay and then inted some of the fight, but I just remember from this clip, like, this was game 3. The game went so long. I remember I watched like the VOD after, and all the casters were complaining that the game was going on for too long because everyone was just doing nothing.
That game went so long that the stream actually had to cut for NACL, and so they finished the rest of the game on my stream, which was kind of a shit show, but it's all right. Yeah, that was a crazy game. And speaking of, we have one more clip from that specific game, I believe, where Snow, I believe you
I still have some.
Snow, I believe you call out a specific player here. We can take a look.
Right. Looking?
They still have everything from Zach, but
Nice.
guys.
Well played, huge. I still have some heal. I think we're okay.
Back it up.
Healing 2? We can kill this fucking guy.
Well, this guy
Oh
is
my
fucking-
god! Dark is super bronze! Nice.
Fuck him.
You get it, you get it. Yeah. Huge, huge, huge.
Nice job.
Let's go.
I mean, look.
You want to call him out right now? You could do it again.
Look, man, I'm saying it by what I said, okay? That was a severe underperformance, okay? It is what it is, you know? I mean, this series, it was pretty funny because our scouting on them was basically that Dardock just likes to sit bot for like a minute at a time. And this series, I'm pretty sure he did every single game. He just sat bot. And I mean, you know, when he fucks up, I gotta call him out in a game, you know? Gotta get the morale up, you know? Because I think before this, we fucked up a play a bit, so, I mean, yeah. Gotta get morale up, we call this guy fucking bronze when he is. It is what it is, man, like, you know?
Is that, do you continue to hold that sentiment right now?
I mean...
Some new teammates?
I mean, we all saw what happened in the Game 5 match, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. I see. Alright, so, I mean, that was a pretty good series, but you guys actually made it all the way to the finals. That OQ, Levitate, did end up losing to Maryville, who I know you were in conversation with as like scrim partners as well for a while. What were your some of your thoughts about that, and some things that you guys think you have improved on, like going into this tournament as well?
Honestly, it was, for me personally, like, I severely underperformed, and my look on that series was if I just played better, then like we would have won that series pretty easily, I would say. Tony was gapping Niles in my opinion, and if I just didn't bleed bot, we would have won. But yeah, I mean, that final in the first OQ, I honestly thought that going into the final, I was very confident because we scrimmed them like that week, like the week before the semifinals and the finals, which is pretty rare, I would say. Like most teams don't do that, but yeah, we ended up scrimming Maryville, and I think our last scrim set against them, we actually went 2-1. So our scrim results were pretty good, and I thought we were gonna win it all, and I don't know what happened. I guess like the nerves got to me. I just didn't play well, but hopefully we can meet them again in this OQ and get our revenge. But yeah.
I thought that was going to be a pretty close series. Obviously, went pretty in favor of Maryville there, but now you guys have another qualifier to work with, and I think it's pretty certain that you're going to make it into the promotion relegation tournament unless something really bad happens and you just drop out of groups, as well as some other teams really going pretty well. So Snow, what are some of the like goals for the team going into this tournament, and despite the fact that, you know, we're probably gonna make it into the tournament for promotion, like what are some other things that you guys are working on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think compared to when we started the first OQ, I think our team has gotten a lot better, and I still think we're scaling. So I think for this tournament, obviously the goal is to win, and then qualify to promotion. That's obviously the other thing. And then ideally the ultimate goal is to get into NACL and then hopefully, you know, not drop 30 losses, but
there's another team that's been doing that recently. We're gonna take a look at
it's
them
okay. I mean, they got to win, bro. It's fine. They're 2-30 now, so it's yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we can qualify to promote, and I mean that should be a good experience for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think right now we're looking onwards to the finals and hopefully doing well in this OQ and then promotions. Yeah.
Speaking of, we're going to do one last activity before we wrap up this portion of the episode. I'm going to share my screen again with you guys here, but what we have is not a tier list, but an alignment chart of a bunch of the different teams that you guys could potentially be playing against very soon, either in the qualifiers or in the promotion relegation tournament. And all of them are on a bit of a spectrum, ranging from win lane, lose lane, and then lose the game, win the game. So you guys, I don't know if you can see what's going on right here. This is basically, I'm going to ask you, your thoughts about one of the teams, and then you're going to put them somewhere on this chart. So like either you think you're going to win lane really hard against them, if you would really either win lane really hard against them, lose lane really hard against them, and then you guys as a team, how much favored are you to win or lose? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let's start off. I guess we can start off with Maryville, because this is a team that, of course, you have the history with. You are, if I am just basing off of the experience of the games that we've watched, probably somewhere around here.
Wow. Yeah.
But what do you try to convince me otherwise? Where would you put them on this chart?
I mean,
That was so depressing to hear, honestly, but you know, it's understandable. Like,
Hey, just
I
from
haven't
just from
entered every
experience.
series with
Oh,
Maryville, so
man.
you know it happens. But yeah, I think Scary Jerry and Zyko are definitely very solid players. I would say for sure top 3 in the OQs. But yeah, I think like Nick said, we're scaling, so I think next time we meet them, hopefully we can win lane and win game. But
Should I move this a little bit somewhere? Based on how much you guys think you've improved, or
is this based on
this is
our
what you guys
results
think?
or
What
our
you think?
confidence level right now?
What you guys think about these teams, basically?
I mean, if it's what we think, I mean, get in the top right quick. I mean, yeah.
Is that?
I mean-
I mean, now I have to ask: is this going to be that case? Is that going to be the case for every team that we have on here, though?
No.
Okay.
Certainly not. I'm already
No.
looking at some of these teams.
Surely not. I'm looking at
Tell
some of
you
these
that-
teams.
We're not going to
Yeah,
go
I mean,
through. We're not going to
yeah,
go through
I mean-
all the NACL teams. But we'll go
How
through some
about
of
how
them.
about for Maryville, we put them right in the middle?
Right in the
Sure,
middle?
sure.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
that's
down.
fair.
I'm down with
That's
that.
fair.
I'm down with that. Okay. Next up, we can go with your opponents for this week. Supernova. Obviously, we saw some clips of you doing pretty well against them previously. I feel like I know where you're gonna want to put them, but what are your thoughts, Azog and Chookies?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I think they should be in the top rate. The one game we lost. Oh my God, Lucian Sona is so OP. What is that? They had no cooldowns, and I go in and it just one shot me. I couldn't focus. Oh my God. I'm like, holy fucking COMMS. This Lucian just cleared the wave. Let's fight, and they one shot me. I don't know, man. They were abusing it OP ball in the game they won, and the other games.
Were you
kinda...
not? Have you not abused that OP bot lane? In the
I mean,
past, though?
listen, I decline to comment, but I'm just saying, okay, that lane's OP. Okay.
I mean, that game
Um,
was just
yeah.
support gap, but you know,
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
say
I no, I'm gonna be honest. I entered that one. Let's not get
game
it
1 and
Okay.
game 3, game 1 definitely a lot more convincing, but
Yeah.
I think we showed that we're better than them. So
So it's just
Yeah.
champ diff. Just champ diff.
Yeah, something like that.
it might be support brain diff, but we'll just
Yeah,
watch
well,
it
I mean,
for the
also
sake
that.
of
I mean,
our-
yeah, I mean,
yeah, you know, it's fine.
All right.
But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for Supernova.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's pull up another NACLQ team. This one's actually I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this team. Native. Oh, they don't show up.
Oh, where did they go?
It's all right. I'll put them in and I'll draw them in later. You guys I don't have you guys played Native yet? I actually don't know.
Not on stage.
We have
but
not
it's
on
very
Not on
stage.
stage,
But yeah,
okay,
we have
but
scrimmed them.
I feel like this team is underperforming a bit. They're like dropping games where I feel
Yeah.
like they shouldn't, but they on paper look like one of the stronger teams. What are your thoughts about them and then also just like Scooped and Rhino as a whole?
I mean, I think their bot lane is definitely another one of the better bots in the tournament. I think in terms of the lane phase, I think this one
Oh, I just
is.
griefed.
What happened?
No, you're all good. Just keep talking.
Oh, okay, sure. In terms of lane phase, I think this is pretty similar to Maryville. I think depending on the day, we can win. Or you know, if we have a Snow2 incident, we can also lose. But personally, I think we can put them on the middle for the win lane, or like a middle for the lane scale, and then I
Okay.
think we'll win the game though, because Scooped is my goat, and he finds a way to die every mid game no matter what. So he's got my back with that one.
So somewhere around here, you think?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'd say.
Okay, valid. We could do one more qualifier team before we move on to NACL.
Okay.
What do you think about? I guess we know your thoughts about Team Fish Taco Jungler, but
Yeah.
what about their bot lane here, especially now with Daption in instead of Winter?
Well, to be honest, I thought the TFT roster did get better from OK1. I think their mid laner was an upgrade. But I don't think there's much of a difference between the supports, except for the fact that it's kind of not Daption's meta. I think Daption's more of an enchanted player, and a lot of the melee supports are coming back in the meta, so I think the ball lane actually might have gotten a bit weaker from Lost OQ. And we beat them. Lost OQ still got seated underneath them, and then beat them again. So I mean, listen, I'm not calling it the committee, but I'm just saying something's messed up. But yeah, maybe
What do you
probably
think?
would put them, maybe
Like
a little
this?
bit to the left of Supernova. Yeah, what do you think,
Like
Joseph?
this. Okay.
I think, I think their bot lane is worse than Maryville and Native,
Yeah.
but better than Supernova. So
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And
somewhere
and same with the team
around-
as a whole,
yeah.
you think as well?
Um,
Or do you think the
I
team is a
mean,
little better or worse?
I mean, we beat them last OQ and we beat them
Yeah.
this OQ, so
Okay.
I don't know what it's gonna take for us to be seated higher than them, but it's all good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll leave,
something,
I'll
I
leave,
mean,
I'll
yeah.
leave the committee to that one.
you
I mean,
know-
we're gonna have to do
hey,
some miracles for
Hey,
that.
no
I guess.
no comment, no comment.
Yeah.
maybe at
I'm
OQ
gonna have to check the
45 we'll
grape
be,
seeding
we'll be
after
No,
seated
no, no,
this
no,
higher.
no.
actually.
I don't think we have to check those. I don't know if we gotta check them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we entered bot lane that 4-0 game or that
Yeah.
5-0 game, but yeah, I think that was not them necessarily playing well. It was just us
Yeah.
inting,
Okay.
which has been the story of like the entire OQ1. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree.
that's just my view on TFT.
All right.
I think they're worse than Scary, Jerry, Zyko, and
Yeah. for
Scooped
sure.
Rhino though.
For sure.
Interesting. I mean, are these 4 teams like the other 4 that you think are really in contention to also making the tournament, or is there another team that you think could maybe make a run?
I think, to be honest, I don't think Supernova will make a run. I think we'll
Yeah,
knock
okay.
them out
They're-
here
Yeah.
this week. I guess they don't get knocked out, but yeah,
think
I don't
but they
think
have to play
they'll
Ambition
be top
again.
4.
It's okay. TA and my goats will beat them this time. I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think Maryville, TFT, and Native are for sure like 3 of the top teams, and
Yeah.
I think CCG, like previously Horizon, actually upgraded a lot. So
Oh,
I'm looking
okay.
forward to.
Can I put them
I'm
on
looking
here
forward
right now, then?
to.
What do you think?
I mean, I haven't played against their bot lane, so I actually don't have any idea.
Yeah, me
but
neither. Yeah,
I
we've never
just
scrimmed them,
think
so-
their roster as a whole improved a lot. So I'm looking forward
maybe-
to playing them
Do
this
I put
OQ.
them like somewhere like here then, or is it a little bit?
I just don't
way,
really
or
know. I
just
mean,
don't
I'm
know?
not sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Never
I'm
never
gonna
played against it before, but personally, I would rate them below MU and TFT. I
Okay.
think, yeah, I think Native has been looking. I mean, going into OQ1, I thought they were going to be probably the best team, but they've been looking kind of weak. So I'm not
Okay.
sure. The 4th spot might come between those 2. Not sure.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually super sure about CCG either, but they've looked pretty good so far.
Yeah.
We can move on to some of the NACL teams. I mean, you guys, of course, we're recording this right now while the playoffs are still going on, so haven't seen too many of those results yet. But we could start off with a team that might be headed down towards this tournament here, CLG Faith. Sketch
Aren't
and
they already
Aaron.
here?
Well, did they lose? I actually
Yeah, they
didn't
lost
catch.
today,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah, they
They went
lost
2-1 to
1-2.
to Wildcard. They won game 1. I was so hyped. I thought they were gonna win, but unfortunately.
So they'll be in the tournament. What do you
Yep.
guys think about the bot lane, also just the team?
We've scrimmed them before. I'm pretty sure we can win. I think, honestly, I'm a little bit more scared of a team like Maryville than them, personally.
Interesting.
What do you think about that, Joseph? Do you agree or?
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the roster is like pretty whatever. I think we can for sure beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's literally all I think about CLG Faith. I just
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So compared to like TFT or CCG, well, what about like the lane in general? Should it just be higher or lower about those players?
I think it should probably be higher than. Well, I think their bot lane are their best players
Okay.
on CLG. So I think the lane might be like pretty similar to Maryville. I just think that their top side is
Yeah.
weaker than Maryville's. But their
So-
bot lane is definitely really good. Sketch is really good.
So something
We
like
can
this.
yeah, we can just
Yeah,
we can
something
just
like
put
that,
them in the
yeah.
middle for lane and we can just say we'll win the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's
I'll
good.
go like that then, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's pull up FlyFam next. This team, I feel like this team had a lot of hype going in, especially the bot lane. You know, some of them
Yep.
Instinct played in LCS for a bit. Sword 100 next was pretty good there. Where are we putting these guys? They've looked better recently.
Yeah, so we scrimmed them a while ago, and from our scrims, it was pretty similar to CLG Faith, but they have looked like they scaled quite a bit. So I'm not actually sure where they
Okay.
are right now. I think this is another team that we can win. I think their bot lane is probably better than CLG Faith, though. So I think we're probably a bit, yeah, I think something like that probably seems good to me. I think.
Okay.
I think we can definitely beat them, though. But
Yeah.
their bot lane's pretty good. Again, I think their bot lane is their best players on that team as well. Or
I
at
agree
least
with
their
that.
ADC is really good. Yeah.
I'm just saying
Uh-oh.
Tony Top will run Lunasia off the map. That's all I have to say.
Ooh,
But,
spice. Okay, that's a bold take. I know when you guys play, if you guys play, I'll
Yeah,
pull this
I mean,
clip up.
Tony just did hit rank 1. You know, that guy's kind
True.
of the goat.
Yeah.
So
True.
Tony
Okay.
on top. Yeah.
All right, we can rapid fire the last couple of these.
Okay.
In terms of provisional, Fear. This team is actually really interesting. I feel like Manui and Trevor
Yeah.
are pretty good.
I mean, they're the goats.
we're actually like Manui fanboys. So you
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
we'll just
okay.
say
We'll
So
say
lose
we'll
lane? Lose
yeah,
lane?
Yeah.
Lose game.
yeah, we'll say we lose lane to them.
What about the
Yeah.
game? What about the team as a whole?
I'm
Tony Top
pretty sure
Gapping Faisal too.
I'm pretty sure we lose the game. These guys are kind of good.
Oh, okay. So,
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, in the off season, we were working with Manui a lot, so yeah,
Alright.
that guy's pretty good. So yeah,
all right.
number
we'll
16
go-
ADC though on the power rankings. So again, the committees are
Hey,
seeming to be a little off. Yeah, it's okay.
Once again, no comment. We can move on.
Yeah,
AOE.
yeah.
What do we think about AOE? This is like a bubble team right now. I feel
Depends on who's drafting. I think if it's Fawn draft, that's like an easy win. If it's Shia Zuri draft, we can lose. I think.
Okay.
So it just depends. You know, it depends on which coach is working that day. You know, also it depends if Sleepy Zuri shows up. So I mean, I'm not sure. It
Sleepy
just depends,
Zuri.
you know, just depends.
Levitate. This is on you. Where are we putting
Yeah.
AOE?
This is probably the worst team to give me because I have not watched any AOE this split. So
Okay.
I do not know. I'll let Snow
What's
decide this
Link
one.
Skytech, right?
Yeah.
I think they're actually some of the. I think they're probably in the top half of laners in NACL. So I think I'm happy to say that we would probably lose lane a bit.
Are they
But
better than Manui or worse?
How about we put them
Probably
between
worse.
Maryville and Fear,
Yeah,
between Maryville
yeah,
and
something like
Fear.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think AoE is one of the better provisional teams for sure.
I noticed we're kind of on a line. Out of the teams that you see
Yeah.
here, are there any teams where like
Yeah,
you're on one of the
Cloud9
extremes?
Yeah, Cloud9
Yeah,
is
Cloud9
very
bottom
bottom left.
left.
Yeah,
Just
all the way.
put
Just
them
yo,
there.
sorry, Lost Zazel, you guys are the
Yeah.
goats. My bad. Like,
I mean,
just
100
bottom left. It
Thieves,
is what it is,
like Levitate versus Unforgiven.
Yo.
We can talk about that one. Just put a bottom
So
left,
also
you know.
here.
bro. Yeah.
Just
I
put
mean,
them-
it is
just
what
put
it
them
is, guys.
there,
Like,
like-
it is what it is.
Okay. What about a team that like is like on one of the ends, but like maybe like you'll win the game, but like you're gonna get shit on in lane? Is there any teams here you're looking at like that?
Who has a good bot lane? Wait, TSM is Neon and who?
Neo and Draku.
I don't know anything about Striker. I don't know if he's good. I'm not sure.
But do you know something about Neo? Is that do you know something
Neo
about
is kind of the goat, to be
Okay.
honest.
So
Yeah, I mean,
so maybe like a lose lane win game for TSM. Is that what you're thinking? They did beat CLG. So
wait, who's their top laner?
top lane's Hanser. for
Hanser.
I mean,
TSM.
honestly, guys, that one might go around Fear. I think. We
I
might
think
lose
in our
off
current
here.
state, we will probably
Yeah.
lose to every
Yeah.
challenger team, if I'm being honest. So.
Okay. Are there any lanes that you're looking at being like, you know, we might lose the game, but I'm gonna get a CS lead.
Oh, I mean, I think we can run Teal for a spot lane.
Okay, well that's probably like around here
Yeah.
then too, right?
Yeah,
Or
probably.
maybe like
yeah,
here?
no.
maybe like here. How about this? Cause their top side's pretty good. They have 30 on their
Yeah,
team.
but so is
Yeah,
ours. You know?
that is
True.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
True.
Like,
Yeah,
I think
sure,
that's fair.
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
a pretty good place for
interesting.
TL first.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other teams here you feel super strongly about? Otherwise, we can call it a day.
Yo, let's put Immortals that we're gonna win lane, just because I know the coach and I gotta.
Just so you can.
I gotta
flame
get
them.
to
Yeah,
beef.
I
I gotta
mean,
get to beef.
I
you know?
hope Draxler watches this
Yeah,
somehow.
I
and
mean,
I can get him
I'm
to
gonna
send
link
me.
this to Drax.
Maybe it'll be a mental edge.
So somewhere like here for Immortals. you think?
Yeah, I mean they're gonna lose to Fly Fam, and then I mean they're meant to
Facts.
Oh my
Okay.
Yeah,
Hot
God.
take.
I mean,
Hot take.
Yeah.
That is
I mean, I'm
That is a
praying on their
bold
downfall,
statement.
bro. I'm praying on their downfall. I'm gonna be honest, just for
Alright.
Richard.
This is cool. I feel like this was a fun little activity. Seems like you
Yeah.
guys are pretty confident about your lane, unless you're playing against Unforgiven and Lost or people who have
I mean,
played
they're the
against us
goats.
before. So.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Oh,
let's just
man.
say we can beat all these teams if Snow has a remarkable comment after every fight, such as Bronze is so bronze or Sona is so OP.
I mean, yeah, that's how I turned it on,
All
bro.
on their pubes.
Dude,
you know?
Yeah,
I think
Diplex is so
I think that
bronze.
gives our team a buff, so we'll need
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot
it
of
does
that.
actually.
Okay, I mean we've gone a little bit over time here, so I just want to close things out. Is there anything you guys want people watching to know about you specifically as players or just people in this space? I guess we can start with Levitate.
Not anything in specific, but I know people don't really think very highly of us, at least the committee or the casters. So hopefully I can prove all of them wrong in this coming OQ and play well in the promotion relegation tournament because people don't think to seem we're good. So hopefully, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just all I have to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah. I mean, honestly, I would just say the same thing. It feels like every time I watch a stream, I'm just like, oh my god, these fucking bot laners are so bad. It's so I'm just hoping that we can kind of shut them up a bit and hopefully beat some of these more well-respected bot lanes, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, we're starting off for you guys with the game against Supernova. You can see on the chart, you're pretty confident against them. But thank you very much, Levitate and Snow. Hopefully, you guys make the tournament. I'm really excited to watch you guys play against some of these NACL teams. It's going to be really fun. But that's going to do it for us here on Salty Runback. Remember to follow us on all of our socials. We post every Wednesday. I don't know what the reason of this episode because NACL playoffs are being a bit weird. We're going to be streaming some of the OQ games over on our Twitch channel. Also, make sure to check out Smacks Hide and AlkBattery. And hey, if you don't like what we have to say, take it with a grain of salt. I've been Grapes. Thank you, Levitate and Snow2, for joining me, and we'll see you next week.